Next, we're going to be removing this panel right here. You're just going to take a flathead screwdriver, just come in here and pry against the edges.
Now this panel pulls just straight back. It has clips in the back that I'll show you here. There's 3 of them, and they go straight into the taillight assembly here. So basically you just want to be pulling that piece directly back towards you once you have it pried away with the screwdriver. And so you're going to need a T15 Torx. So the Torx is similar to an Allen, but it's just multiple point. So I'll show you the tip of it here, but make sure you have one of those so you don't strip it out.
You're going after 2 of these screws. There's one right here, and there's one right there. Now you're going to pull the whole assembly outwards this way. Okay, so following the wiring harness up, there's this metal clip here that you just get a screwdriver under and pry it off on each side. It's just a little U-clip like that, and that will allow the wiring to come out. The reverse bulb here just twists and comes out. That's the reverse light bulb. And then up here is the regular tail light, and it just pinches and comes off. So you're just pinching that down right here. Just pinch that down. So that's how you free the tail light assembly out of there.
So with the taillight out and on the workbench, what you're going to do is count down about 4 of these little things here. And so right here is where we're going to need to cut into the back of the harness. It's next to that little barb that was sticking up right there. And so there's also a lower area connection where it always breaks, and it's going to be down here. And so it's kind of where that line was drawn, and you'll see that a little bit later in the video. But we're just going to take our Swiss Army knife here, and what we're going to do is heat the knife with a heat gun. Make sure you don't melt any of the tail light assembly or any of the plastic, anything. Just get the blade itself really hot, and be careful not to burn yourself. And just make some small incisions here as you start to lightly carve into it. You can put some lines in. The heat really helps get it nice and soft, so it'll just cut down real thin. You just got to keep reheating it. Just make sure that you do not cut down too deep. You should start to see through it a little bit and see some of the metal. And then you need to make a vertical incision here, and then one towards the top as well. And something you can do if the knife is hot enough is slightly push in, and it will sink its way in a little bit. But be very careful if you have a folding pocket knife like this. A fixed knife or a box cutter might be a better idea. But what you're going to do next is once you have it pretty well slit open, is just kind of work yourself in there and just pry that little piece up that you've cut. And you just have to go around all the corners, make sure you're cutting a nice square out of it on all areas. Don't try to pry it too much or you could crack the housing. But once you do that, you should be able to pop this thing up. And like I said, be very careful because the metal that we're working with, the circuit board is right under that.
Okay, so right here where the brake is, there's a small hairline crack right there. Right where I touched. So I'm going to show you here how this works. The headlights on the truck are on. Okay, so you can see the taillight works. But as I barely touch it and break that connection, you can see how it turns off. See that crack right there? So as it breaks its connection, you can see the light turn off. So we're just going to solder it right on that crack. Okay, another method, we're going to cut the bottom one open here. So it's basically straight along here, and about right here is where we need to get in here. So another thing you can do is use a Dremel. If you are, just make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. And we're just going to cut a little line. And just do not cut very deep, because you can see on the other side here that that metal's pretty close. So we really don't want to have any issues getting in there and ruining the board. Okay, so when you have this extracted, you should see this piece right here. Okay, and that needs to be connected. Don't worry about the gap here or at the bottom. It's right here. And as you can see, it's cracked right at the very, very bottom. So you can see that crack. That was what's keeping it from coming on and off. Over here, same thing. So you can see we just want this solid line right here. And this one looks like it's okay, but I can see where it's starting to crack in the corner. Right there at the very, very top, it's starting to crack. So this one's just a matter of time anyway. So now we're going to bridge those gaps. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is fill in the little crack here at the very bottom where it has separated. And so with soldering, you want to make sure that you're heating up the metal itself, not the solder. Okay, so we're going to put the solder down in here, but first we're going to heat up the actual metal. So you're just going to touch the metal itself and get it good and hot. Okay, so we have a glob of solder there. It's not very pretty, but it's connecting the gap where that was. And it's okay that it's still kind of bulgy like that, because what we're going to do next is just take a piece of copper here, and we're going to just lay it down to bridge this gap again. So we're going to pretty much lay it down right there where that was. And just remember you're conducting heat. So if you're holding this, don't hold it by your fingers. Okay, so I'm going to put the copper through that little hole there, just slightly, just to kind of keep it where we want it. Okay, so I put the copper through that little hole, and then it's over here near the other one. We're just going to see if we can bond this together here. Good little solder.
So once I had it soldered pretty well on the ends, then I just kind of heated up the copper itself and continued to solder it, and it would draw the solder in, and that way it would kind of draw it through the copper and get it into the gaps where it was still connecting, and it seemed to make a pretty nice seal that way.
Okay, so at the top you can see I added the wire from side to side and soldered it in, so it's good and firm in there. The biggest problem you're going to have, you want to make sure that you do not connect this plate to this plate or that plate to that plate. The solder can expand and do that. Then it'll break the connection that way, and the light will not work. So just make sure that it's only on that strand going right through the middle. So that one's done there. Down here, I just added some extra solder right on top. I may have to do a wire on that one someday as well. But that was sufficient for now. It seemed like I just put a nice connection on there because it wasn't cracked yet. I could see where it was starting to crack. So that should be okay. I might add some more there later. But anyway, that's how it worked here. And I'll show you here that it works. We put the lights on. Okay, and voila. So it's all lighting up perfect. So if you have a bad connection up here at the top, sometimes the top parts flicker, don't work. And I even had just a little bit of solder, a little too much there, touching you know, where I was telling you not to let it touch, and it was causing the light to flicker a little bit. So make sure that it's bridged only right there down the middle. Okay, so what I've done now is I've just put some electrical tape over this for now. I'm not going to permanently seal this up. I'm going to, you know, drive around a bit, have my wife follow me driving, or I'll follow my wife driving, and just make sure that we don't have any loose connections, no flickering, anything like that. So for now, kind of just a little more temporary thing. We've just put some electrical tape to cover up all the circuitry. You will get dirt and water and everything in here, so eventually you want to seal it up a little bit better. And I might just do the same thing, electrical tape, but put some good glue on it first to where it's really going to keep it tight, and then if I have to open it up again, I can. So anyway, we'll put it back in the truck now. Okay, reassembly is the exact opposite. So we're just going to set our harness up in here. And take our bulb here. So just twist it that way. This just plugs right back in. Okay, remember your clip here, just to go on both sides here. Okay, and then you're lining up these here into these holes there. Install your two torx T15. Only really need to go in hand tight. Everything lines up. Now just take your cover, and it has these clips on the back, just so you're aware of that. So these clips are going in here, here, and here on the tail light.